Hey! You're late. Tom looked at me with eyes that seemed to be scheming something. Next to him stood a girl. Then, he said something unbelievable. I'm going to live with this girl. If you don't like it, leave. I had suspected something was up when he brought her here, but I never thought he'd tell me to leave. The thought that our 10 years of marriage could end so easily made me incredibly sad and frustrated. But all the responsibility for this lies with Tom. I won't let him get his way. Now it's my turn. My name is Holly York. I'm a 37-year-old housewife who works for a major corporation. My husband, Tom, works in sales at a real estate company not far from our home. We met 11 years ago at a mixer party organized by an acquaintance. While everyone else was having a good time, I noticed a man who seemed out of place and uncomfortable. That was Tom. Normally, I wouldn't pay attention to a guy who didn't seem to fit in, but for some reason, I was drawn to him that night. No one else seemed to notice him, but I was the only one who approached and started a conversation with him. Nice to meet you. Tom's response was lukewarm, just a slight nod. But this gesture somehow attracted me even more. From there, I became very assertive. I didn't worry about being disliked, I just kept talking to him. Gradually, Tom started to open up, and before we knew it, we were at a different bar, just the two of us, leaving everyone else behind. This night led to us dating later on. A year after that, Tom proposed to me. Of course, I said yes. The year we spent together before getting engaged was a great opportunity to get to know each other better. There was no reason to say no. I vowed to spend the rest of my life with my beloved Tom, and we got married with blessings from everyone around us. I had been focused on my career. But finally, I had found happiness. Or so I thought until one morning. As I went to take out the trash, I opened the front door and saw a girl standing on the other side of the street, staring intently at our house. I tried to recall who she might be, but no one came to mind. I had never seen her around here before. Wondering if she needed something, I called out a distant good morning to her. Without saying anything, the girl ran away from the spot. What was that about? The girl had a blank expression and lifeless eyes. I felt a bit creepy. When I got home from work, I planned to talk to Tom about the girl. After finishing my job for the day, I headed home. I thought about preparing dinner and waiting for Tom, but then I remembered that for the past month, Tom had been swamped with work, staying late every day. On top of that, he even had to work on weekends, so we barely had any time to talk properly. I completely forgot about that girl. I decided to talk to Tom about it later and went to bed early that night. The next day, Tom had already left for work. Recently, we haven't had much of a conversation at all. It's a bit sad to think that this is what happens when you've been married for a long time. I wonder if that girl is out there again. When I opened the curtains of the bedroom and looked outside, the girl was standing in the same spot as yesterday, staring at our house. I quickly went downstairs, opened the front door, and stepped outside. I called out good morning to her again, but she ran away just like before. What's her deal? Even though it had only been 2 days, the image of the girl was already unsettling to me. And this continued for a week. I finally decided it was too important not to tell Tom about it. He got home around 11 p.m. Welcome back. Thanks, it's rare to see you up this late. As he was about to change his clothes, I stopped him, saying I had something to talk about. Tom looked a bit annoyed. I knew he must be tired from work. But I couldn't keep quiet after what had happened. So, here's the thing, I started. But as expected, he said. I'm tired. Let's talk about it later. He didn't even try to listen and went straight to the bathroom. I tried to talk to him, but he ignored everything. And went straight to bed. No luck. I thought to myself, deciding to stop relying on Tom and take action on my own. I had noticed that the girl always showed up around 7 a.m. in front of our house. Tom always leaves for work at 6 a.m. So he's unaware of her presence. The next day, just before 7 a.m., I positioned myself in front of the living room window, keeping the curtains closed, so the girl wouldn't notice me. Peeking through the curtain gap, I saw the girl arrive. She's here. Today, instead of going out the front door, I decided to sneak out the back. I quietly approached the girl and then said, "Good morning." How many times have I said that to her now? She looked startled and tried to run away, but I reached out and grabbed her arm, refusing to let go. I gripped her arm a bit tighter, determined not to release her. Surprisingly, she didn't resist. "Would you like some juice?" I found myself asking out of the blue. She nodded in agreement, which was a bit unexpected. It's a bit disconcerting. I asked her to wait a moment and went to get some juice. I half expected her to be gone when I returned. But she was still there. "Here you go," I said, offering her the juice. She hesitated to take it at first. "It's okay, you can drink it." Hearing that, she gently took the cup with her small hands and started drinking. As I watched her, I noticed something black on her arm. "Hey, what's your name?" When I asked her name, the girl showed a shy smile and told me. "Shane." "Shane, that's a nice name." After finishing her juice, Shane quickly went back home. I didn't ask why she came here every day or where she was coming from. She seemed like a very sincere child. I guess it's good she at least told me her name. I planned to slowly build a friendship with her and ask more about her later. I thought that. However, things didn't go as smoothly as I hoped. The next day, Shane, who was usually there, was nowhere to be seen. The mornings are still cold, and it wouldn't be surprising if such a young child caught a cold from standing outside so early. So, I tried not to worry too much about Shane not showing up. But it wasn't just that day. Shane didn't appear the following day or the day after that either. Could she have caught a cold, perhaps? Another 2 weeks passed. She's not here today either. I'm really starting to worry that something might have happened. It was strange how concerned I was for a child who wasn't even mine. Because of that, it's even started to affect my work and household chores. This worry started to affect my work and household chores. If this continues, even Tom might get angry. He didn't say anything about my forgetfulness, nor did he seem to care at all. I had felt a sense of disconnect from Tom for a while now. After being married for 10 years, I wondered if his love for me had faded. I tried to convince myself that this was just stability in our marriage, but it felt empty. Then, 3 days later, while stopping by the supermarket after work, I saw a familiar figure in the distance. What? I was stunned to see Tom walking arm in arm with another woman, looking cozy together. Why? I couldn't believe what I was seeing and felt dizzy. I managed to calm myself down and decided to follow them. After trailing them for about 10 minutes, they arrived in a hotel district behind the train station. "You're kidding, right? This can't be happening, right? He wouldn't do this, would he?" I hoped, but my hopes were dashed as I saw Tom and the woman enter a hotel. Shocked, I stood frozen in place, feeling sick to my stomach. I ended up vomiting next to a telephone pole. I wanted to leave immediately, but I knew I couldn't run from this reality. I took out my phone from my bag and waited for Tom and the woman to come out of the hotel. I need to get evidence of his affair on my phone. 3 hours later, finally came out. Tom and the woman were all smiles. I quickly snapped photos. This should be enough evidence. I couldn't clearly see the woman's face as she was wearing a hat and sunglasses, but the photos should suffice as proof of the affair. Still, I felt uneasy with just the photos. From that day, I decided to give Tom some space and gather more evidence. 2 weeks have passed since then. My life has been busier than ever with work, household chores, and collecting evidence of Tom's infidelity. I've never been this busy before. I haven't been getting enough sleep, and my health is deteriorating. But I couldn't just stay put. It was during such a time, while I was getting ready to go to work, that the doorbell rang. Who could it be this early in the morning? My exhaustion from recent busyness and unending irritation was taking a toll. I swung the door open with force, only to find Shane standing there. Shane, who hadn't shown up for a whole month. Shane. What had she been doing all this time? Was she sick with a cold? I greeted her, saying it had been a while, but Shane was as quiet as ever. What brings you here today? Then, Shane handed me a fabric bag she was holding. What's this? Inside the bag, I found what looked like toys and a single photograph. As I pulled them out to look. What? I was faced with something utterly unbelievable. And at the same time, I discovered both the identity of Tom's affair partner and Shane's true identity. Everything connected unexpectedly from this unlikely source. Stunned by the truth, Shane said to me in a soft voice, "Big sister. It's okay. Thank you for telling me." Shane showed a relieved expression and then left. It's all good now, right? I thought to myself, glad I had prepared early. I was ready for whatever might come next. But what happened next came abruptly. When I got home from work, I saw Tom's shoes at the entrance. And next to them, another pair. I had a bad feeling as I headed to the living room, where I found Tom sitting on the sofa, fiddling with his phone. "Hey! You're late," he said with a look in his eyes like he was up to something. Next to him sat a young girl. And then he said something outrageous. "We're going to live with this girl. If you don't like it, you can leave." I had suspected something was up when he brought her here, but I never expected to be told to leave. The thought that 10 years of marriage with Tom could end so easily made me feel incredibly sad and frustrated. But all of this, every bit of it, is Tom's responsibility. I won't let him get away with this any longer. Now it's my turn. I immediately responded to Tom. "So, you're okay with me leaving?" Because, you know. Tom tried to interrupt me mid-sentence, telling me to shut up. But I threw his words right back at him. "You should be the one to keep quiet for a bit. What I'm about to say is very important." "What? Me being okay? I'm talking about your life from now on." "Huh? What are you talking about, LOL? My life isn't going to end," he said, clueless about what I meant. That's when I explained the reason to him. Infidelity and a child. With your current situation, just these words should be enough for you to understand what I'm getting at, right? I took something out of my bag and showed it to Tom. His reaction was immediate. He started shaking uncontrollably. It's too late to be scared now. Although a bit sooner than I had planned, it's better to deal with such matters quickly. That child is Shane, the one born to you and your mistress. I've known about it for a long time. Where did you get that? I got all the information from Shane herself. What? Shane was Tom's child, a secret he had kept from me. Despite being married to me, Tom had an affair with another woman and even got her pregnant. Shane, you went and did whatever you wanted. Tom turned red with anger and raised his fist at Shane. However, Shane didn't even flinch. It's no surprise. She was used to such treatment. So that's how you've been treating Shane, isn't it? Making sure not to leave any marks on her face. Tom, caught off guard by my words, hastily tried to make excuses. No, it's not like that. You know how it is, right? When a child does something wrong, you scold them. So this is just, a father's. What's different about it, Tom? Do you understand what you were about to do? Even if you hadn't done anything yet, what do you think people would say if they saw this? I apologized to Shane and rolled up her sleeve, revealing black bruises on her slender arm. This is the answer to what you were about to do. Who are you to talk about punishing bad behavior? Aren't you the root of all evil here? And suddenly playing the father card. Unbelievable. It's impossible for you to admit it just because I found out. That's what I can't stand about you. I intended to remain calm, but I lost my temper seeing Tom only thinking about himself. Tom, seeing my fury for the first time, began to sweat profusely and fell silent, looking down. Shane then handed him something. Here. It was that same fabric bag. But what Shane was actually handing over wasn't the bag itself, but its contents. The same items I had seen before. Which indisputably proved Tom's affair. What? Shane said nothing. Why don't you open it and see? Then you'll understand. Tom cautiously opened the bag and peeked inside. His face turning pale before hastily closing it again. What's the matter? You look pale. He must not have expected to find such things inside. The bag contained photos of Tom, Shane, and a woman happily enjoying an amusement park. And a custom-made acrylic stand. With all three smiling. The woman with them was, indeed, Tom's mistress and Shane's mother. These photos and the acrylic stand were solid evidence of Tom's affair and that Shane was his daughter. It turns out, the amusement park they had visited was celebrating its 20th anniversary with a special event. Offering a gift of a custom-designed acrylic stand for families. Complete with their names. And there was more in the bag that I hadn't seen before. a family photo taken shortly after Shane was born. With Tom's, Shane's, and the mother's names written on the back. Seeing such a thing, it's no wonder you'd turn blue. It's all pretty awful. I blurted out without thinking. Just this alone makes it clear that Tom is an unbelievable man. But what's even more shocking is his affair partner. It turns out, Willow Turner, who is Shane's mother, is actually my boss. I found out that Tom and Willow have been having an affair for some time. And not just that, she's pregnant now. Can you believe it? Why my boss? Was it because I introduced you to Boss Turner before we got married? Right, she was always oozing charm, so you got caught up too, huh? And now, a child? How much did you hustle? Well, it must have been great, right? You're still sneaking off to hotels with her, leaving Shane all alone. I kept pressing Tom. It's clear from this that Tom and Willow have been faithful to their own desires. They've been paying people we know to take care of young Shane time and again. You're the worst, both as a parent and a person. Then, Tom suddenly got down on his knees. I'm sorry. I never thought it'd come to this. What are you saying now? It was tough for me too. No matter how hard I tried, my boss wouldn't recognize my efforts, my colleagues were getting promotions, and I was left behind, feeling out of place at work. My salary is even lower than yours, why should I be the only one feeling miserable? I was stressed out too. I was disappointed. All he could do was talk about himself. Stress, huh? So that's why you had an affair with her. I couldn't help it. Willow seduced me. What man wouldn't be swayed by a woman like that, oozing with allure? So, if you're gonna blame anyone, blame Willow. If she hadn't seduced me, none of this would have happened. It was just too much. I don't know how much Shane understood about this kind of thing, but he looked very sad. To think, his own father. I was infuriated. As I was thinking about how to give this man a taste of his own medicine, there was a loud snap. A dry sound echoed in the living room. What are you doing? Oh. My hand had moved on its own. Tom, with a shocked expression, held his cheek. Behind him, Shane seemed a bit pleased. After all the terrible things she'd endured, there must have been a lot built up inside her. So, I decided to put the final nail in the coffin for this awful man and called someone. Ah, yes. I'll be waiting. Who did you call? It's a secret. 15 minutes later, a man arrived at the house. He was a large, kind-looking man. Then, he looked at Tom and introduced himself in a low, angry voice as Mr. Turner. Eh? Mr. Turner? You've done it now. You messed with my precious daughter and even got her pregnant. Could it be? You know it. This man is Ms. Turner's father. The moment he heard that, Tom was stunned. You're the lowest of the low as a human being. I can't forgive what you've done. You've sullied my daughter whom I've cherished and raised, getting her pregnant and having a child. Someone who messes up other people's lives like her isn't my daughter anymore. His words, spoken in a low, pressurized voice, were enough to push Tom to the brink of despair. But it wasn't over yet. Now it's my turn. Of course, I'm divorcing you. Write your name on this right now. I thrust the divorce papers in front of Tom. But Tom was already in the depths of despair. Faced with the reality of divorce, he just looked off into the distance and laughed. My words were no longer reaching him. Whatever happened to that bravado of his? People change so much when they're pushed to their limits. It seems any more would be a waste of time. I'll be leaving now. If my daughter calls, tell her that she's no longer my daughter, and I've cut ties with her. Understood. I'll make sure to pass the message along. Thank you for coming despite your busy schedule. And then Mr. Willow's father left. Now it's just this guy. Just when I was wondering what to do with Tom. Shane handed me a cell phone. For me? I wondered who was calling and answered it. Tom! It's terrible! The affair has become an issue at work. It seems Shane spilled the beans to the company. At this rate, I'll have to quit my job. Tom, help me! Hello? Who's this? Good evening, Ms. Turner. It's Holly York. Holly York speaking. There was silence from Willow's end of the phone. She seemed surprised that I was the one answering. You can hear my voice, right? Why is Holly York on the line? I mean, this phone is. Yes, it's my husband's phone. You're wondering why I'm answering, right? That's because my husband is in no state to answer the phone. He's been cornered after I found out about his affair with you, and now he's just staring off into space in shock, especially after your father gave him a piece of his mind. Of course, your daughter and my husband are here too. Oh, and by the way, you mentioned earlier that Shane was the one who spilled the beans about the affair at work, but guess what, it was me. What? Willow was clearly shaken by the flurry of surprising news, even over the phone. She seemed at a loss for words. I pressed on. Oh, and before I forget, I should tell you something. Your father said he no longer considers you his daughter and has cut off all ties with you. Huh? He was quite angry, so you might want to brace yourself. Then Willow screamed over the phone and started cursing at me. But at that moment, Shane reached out to me. Understanding his gesture, I handed him the phone. Mommy. I hate you. Bye-bye. What? Wait. Ignoring Willow's response, I hung up the phone. Then, Shane turned to me and spread his palm wide. We high-fived. A smile returned to Shane's face. That day, I divorced Tom, and Willow was also disowned and kicked out of her house. Later, I heard from an acquaintance that Willow, having her scandal spread throughout her company, had to resign. With nowhere to live, she ended up in a century-old rundown apartment, scraping by with day-to-day jobs and leading a poor life. As for Tom, he was fired from his job for frequently skipping work to be with Willow. His loyalty to his desires led him to strangle his own future. Now, he's living on the edge just like Willow, with no place to stay or money, doing day-to-day jobs. Of course, he's still paying alimony every month. And me? The divorce spurred me to dive deeper into my work. 6 months later, I was promoted to manager, and further career advancement is already within my sight. While work is fulfilling, it does come with stress. But now, I have the best stress reliever. I'm home. Big sis, welcome home. I had adopted Shane after all that happened. Today we're having Shane's favorite, steak. Yay! The once quiet and expressionless Shane now shows such adorable smiles. I vowed to cherish this life forever.